White House Correspondents Association is scrambling to maintain their control over the briefing room as years of false reporting is finally catching up to them. One America's Pearson has more.
The White House Correspondents Association has fallen on dark days, moving from one massive blunder to the next. While it was once a place for real journalists to report to the American people on what the President of the United States had to say, now the briefing room is a place for performance personalities to harass and abuse President Trump's administration. In an ongoing battle with the White House, the Correspondents Association is fighting to maintain control over the seating arrangement in the briefing room. But they've forgotten who they work for and who ultimately controls that room. The Correspondents Association is supposed to work for the American people, and that room is controlled by the President of the United States, not them. Appearing on CNN in a segment ironically called Reliable Sources, Correspondents Association President John Karl whined to Brian Stelter about losing control of the briefing room.
For as long as there have been seats in that briefing room, the White House Correspondents Association has had a say in who sits where. And the reason for that is you don't want a reporter, Caitlin Collins, for instance, to worry that if she asks a question that upsets the president, that the president will retaliate by moving her to the back row or kicking her out of the briefing room.
Karl obviously wasn't even listening to himself, because what he just said is exactly what he did to OAN reporter Chanel Rion. He didn't like a question Chanel asked, and so he retaliated by kicking her out of the briefing room. It's as simple as that. Clearly, this is a do as I say, not as I do situation, and Karl obviously just wants to protect his stooges from the kind of hypocrisy he's dishing out to the president.
Journalists cannot be silenced, censored, or intimidated, and that's the end of the line. The White House cannot get away with this.
But it's perfectly fine for the Correspondents Association to do that to Chanel Rion, though, right? While legitimate American journalists have their seats revoked, the Correspondents Association is happy to roll out the red carpet for actual members of China's state-run propaganda news channels. From the very people who haven't done any true journalistic reporting in years, maybe ever, and they have the audacity to call Chanel a personality and not a reporter.
They've had a reporter, kind of a personality, standing in the back and having the president call on her.
When was the last time Brian Stelter or Jim Acosta reported on any real news?
You are fake news.
But Acosta isn't alone. In fact, the entire press corps has become a pack of attack dogs, angrily barking accusations at President Trump instead of doing their journalistic duty to the truth.
I say that you're a terrible reporter. That's what I say. Go ahead. I think it's a very nasty question, and I think it's a very bad signal that you're putting out to the American people. The American people are looking for answers, and they're looking for hope. And you're doing sensationalism, and the same with NBC and Comcast. I don't call it Comcast. I call it Concast. Let me just tell you for whom you work. Let me just tell you something. That's really bad reporting. And you ought to get back to reporting instead of sensationalism.
On top of that, they attacked OAN for being a low-rated news channel.
There's a low-rated right-wing channel the president really likes called One America News.
One America News has been repeatedly called the favorite network of the President of the United States by many, including CNN's own Brian Karem, no less. That's not too bad for an independent, family-owned and operated news network. Meanwhile, despite attacks against President Trump, it was Barack Obama who tried to silence the media and actually erased press corps transcripts, implying his administration was lying about the Iran nuclear deal.
You're in my house.
Obama frequently threw people out of White House events when they interrupted him. If Trump did that, there'd never be another press briefing again.
Can we escort this person out? Come on.
But John Karl and the rest of the left-wing media have forgotten they have an obligation to the American people and to the truth, not to their own opinions and hateful rhetoric.
Well, we don't control who comes in and out of the White House or who comes in and out of the briefing room. What we control is who sits in those seats.
No, that's where you're wrong, John. You were allowed to manage the seats, but it's the President of the United States who controls that room. That's his house, not yours. Even the Department of Justice weighed in, pointing out that the briefing room is White House property, not the press corps, and essentially the White House can invite whoever they want, whenever they want. And now the privilege the Correspondents Association was given to manage those seats is being taken away because the Correspondents Association has acted so irresponsibly they can't be trusted to fulfill their duty to the truth any longer.
Only CNN would ask that question. Fake news. Go ahead.
The president has to be the adult in the room and correct the situation because the only job of the Correspondents Association is to make a safe space for all journalists to get their questions in. And they haven't been doing that. They can take away our seat. That's fine because we don't report to them. One America News wants to be in the briefing room because we know we have an obligation to keep the American people informed on what the president has to say. And until he says otherwise, that's exactly what we'll continue to do. For One America News, I'm Pearson Sharp.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.